Welcome to The Planner's Perspective with Jessie Kara. This is the podcast for wedding planners and couples navigating South Asian weddings and everything that comes with them. Culture, family dynamics, money, design, expectations, and the real conversations no one prepares you for. I'm Jessie Kara, a South Asian wedding planner and educator trusted by couples and families when things get complicated. Here we go beyond timelines and Pinterest boards and talk about what actually happens behind the scenes. If you're a planner stepping into South Asian weddings or a couple who wants to understand the process more deeply, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back to The Planner's Perspective. I'm Jessie Kara, award-winning South Asian wedding planner and designer. And today we're talking about Anand Karaj timelines and why the morning of your wedding is either going to feel calm and intentional or chaotic and emotionally draining. I want to start with a story. On my wedding day, I was sitting in a small bridal room at the Gurdwara, fully dressed in my heavy linga, my chunni, my dupatta was pinned, jewelry was secured, makeup done, 3 hours of hair and makeup behind me. My family was on time. We left the house ahead of schedule 15 minutes early. We were organized, structured, ready, made sure family was there on time. And as I'm waiting in this room, I found out that my husband, the groom side of the family, hadn't left yet. They were waiting for one more family member to take a family photo. I remember sitting in that tiny room for over an hour. I was overstimulated, hot, like there was layers of fabric. I couldn't go to the washroom because of how many people were there and like just how everything was pinned and draped, and was going to need support and from the room to the washrooms. Like there was just people hanging around waiting for the groom side. So there I was. I'm watching the clock. I'm texting and getting like vague updates, which did not help. When they finally arrived and we made it to the Anand Karaj, which still happened before 12, I just want to say, I actually did say something to my now husband. I was frustrated. And I remember in that moment, his sister tried to calm me down and said it was fine and I should get over it. And I remember saying, not my proudest moment, then maybe you should try sitting in a small room for over an hour and not being able to go to the washroom. It was not graceful, but it was honest. And that moment has truly affected my role as a planner because timelines are not about control. Timelines protect people emotionally. And here's what I've learned. People act like they've never been to a wedding before when it's their turn to marry off like somebody of their own, like a child or a niece or nephew, grandchild. Like you can attend 50 weddings and understand exactly how they flow. But then all of a sudden it's a family wedding or your child's wedding and emotions distort time. Everyone wants inclusion. Everyone wants their moments, their photos, recognition, completely forgetting it's about the bride and groom. And suddenly 5 minutes doesn't feel like 5 minutes. And I'm trying to say this with compassion, but parents carry like enormous cultural pressure on this day. They want to host well, honor family, show generosity. They want to ensure no one feels excluded because there's pride, reputation, and emotional involved. But inclusion without structure creates stress. You can honor people and still move with discipline. You can love your extended family and still say, we are leaving now. Respect and firmness are not opposites, but here's the problem. It's never just 5 minutes. 5 minutes waiting for a late cousin, or like 10 minutes or reorganizing people for one more photo, 8 minutes of like chit chat during tea because guests are so relaxed, or 3 unplanned meetings because someone important arrived. Okay. 7 minutes of searching for envelopes because no one sorted the money ahead of time. No single delay feels catastrophic, but together that was 40 minutes. That's the domino effect. The Anand Karaj itself doesn't take like that much time. It's not that long. It's people moving along the flow of the day that creates the stress. If you know you need money at the Gurdwara, sort it, have it ready to go, separate it. Do not open every purse and bag in front of everyone searching for those envelopes. Preparation is respect. And here's something no one's talking about. Like there's this illusion on wedding mornings that we have time. I don't know where it came from. I have found that like dads are notorious for this. But like the morning feels long. It feels like stretched. And you look at the clock and you're thinking we're fine. But weddings are not the place for optimism. Okay. They're the place for margin. People assume they can make it up later, that they can speed something up if needed. But you can't rush sacred movement, or you can't rush the people sitting down like respectfully. And you definitely cannot rush transitions without it feeling chaotic. Time is lost in small increments, and it doesn't scream at you. It just slowly whispers, and suddenly you're running behind and it's loud. Because by the time it's loud, the bride is already waiting. Like, and that's not the feeling that any bride wants. Like, she doesn't want to be rushed or stressing out right before she walks down the aisle. Now, if you are a bride listening to this and you're thinking about your wedding timeline, I build mine backwards and I'm just going to go through it. So if you're building yours, and these are the things you can think about when building your timeline. Okay. So if the ceremony needs to be finished by 12, I plan for it to be done by 11:30. That buffer is non-negotiable. That means that the bride needs to enter by 11. So that means the groom needs to be seated and ready to move forward by 10:45, because we want to make sure that he has enough time to go in, matatik, sit to the side, clear off any of his family that was coming in, have that aisle cleared, have him move back to the center before we start the bride's family, right? So now, if I need him in by 10:45, that means I need him to be like leaving the breakfast area by like 10:20, 10:30, with time to use the washroom and transition. Because usually during that time, when we get him to be like, hey, if you need to go to the washroom, clean yourself up before we go up, we start telling people, hey, look, the groom's already leaving. Like, we need to go. Like, finish your cup of tea. Like, or we can have tea later, and let's get going, right? Now, if we need him moving by like 9:20, 10:30, that means, sorry, 10:20, 10:30, that means we would prefer to have the milni completed by 9:30. Because although it feels like a lot for that hour, but depending on the gurdwara you're in or families, it does take a little bit of time to get everyone into the langar hall, have them get their snacks and have their snacks. And then there's going to be people that are going to want to take photos. There's going to be people that want to sit down and have tea. And also there's going to be those people that did not show up during the milni or the barat that are coming in, and then they're going to try to sneak in a little bit later. And yes, I know I've added more buffer, but this is just to get you thinking about things, right? Because if you want the milni done by about 9:30, 9:45, like I say 9:30, it's more like 9:45, that means the barat needs to enter at around 9 a.m., right? To give them time to get to wherever they need to get to, if it's like a private estate or at the Gurdwara, like whatever the designated area is. And after that, you're going to have the ardas before you move to the milni. So now that means that you want to start getting family congregating at the meetup point by 8:45. I have seen families, like someone will get lost, or someone needs to fix their knee, or somebody needs to do this, and it's that one person that we cannot move forward without. So like a 15-minute window to get everybody together and set, and if there's a groom getting on a horse or whatnot, to have enough time for all of that and to get those moments captured and get everyone gathered. Like, yeah, you're gathering about 8:45, and that means like the groom and his family should be arriving between like 8:30 and 8:40, so that they're ready when everyone starts gathering at that spot to move forward. Okay, so now if we want the groom to be there by 8:30, 8:40, because we need to have a little bit of a buffer for like traffic and whatnot. So now we need to factor in travel time from wherever you're leaving from. And the number of times everyone's like, okay, we're going to go, we're going to go, we're going to go. It can take up to 15 minutes if you've got party buses or limos, or if you're trying to get everyone out of the house, into their cars and out. That could take about 15 minutes, right? Especially if you have party buses and limos, because they don't move like cars. They take a little bit more time. And now we're So before we leave, we need to do family photos. We need to do the sorma photos. We need to do the the kalagi photos, right? So let's say it's, I don't know, 30-45 minutes for that, and then another 30-45 minutes for individual group shots at most. Now, this also depends how many people you're having at the morning of the wedding. I had a couple, a wedding recently. We're at the groom's house. Like, there was a huge extended family because both the groom's mom and dad had a lot of brothers and sisters who then had a lot of children. So we're trying to get the puppy photos and the sister photos. And then we're trying to get each family's photo, and people are doing sugin, right? And so you need to account for all of that. And if you know that your family is always running late, you need to give them an even earlier time. Because you have to remember, structure is not disrespectful, it's protective. Now, let's talk about that bridal room, because families underestimate this the most. The bride is often in a room, sometimes beautiful, sometimes tight. I've seen them without washrooms. There's layers of fabric, there's jewelry, there's makeup. She can't move freely. She can't casually step out. Like, she can't really be doing much. She's waiting, and that waiting feels really long. Now, there are very high chances her nervous system is feeling super heightened, cortisol is elevated, anticipation is building, and every 10 to 15 minutes feels very amplified. And when updates are inconsistent, that emotional tension builds. As planners, we protect nervous systems, not just timelines. I like to assess bridal rooms differently. How big is it? Where is the washroom? Who's allowed inside? And that's something, if you're planning your own wedding, is something that's really important that you take note of. Know who you're okay and not okay having in that bridal room, and designate someone who's going to be in charge of that, because we all have those family members or friends or coworkers who think they are closer than they really are, that want to come in and just see you or congratulate you, and maybe you don't want them in there, right? So think about who is the designated communicator. And I don't know, maybe you want 20 family members in there. Maybe you want 10. Assign somebody. You want someone who's calm and filtered and protective, because overstimulation is real. And it's a part that no one sees. It's that invisible labor of timeline enforcement. And we obviously, as planners, there's only so much we can do, because everyone is there. They want to see you. They want to spend time with you, which is why we like to make sure that we know beforehand, okay, who's going to be there, who's not. But having someone within that family or a friend that can do that, who recognizes people, is really important, because we don't know who your cousin Poonam is. I don't know who your coworker Pam is that's allowed in there, right? These are things you need to be prepared for. And also be prepared for the things that push timelines, is those micro conversations in hallways, right? After the job, people go wash their hands, and then they make their way to take their shoes off and set themselves, or the gentle redirection of elders, they're slowly calming down that panicking parent. We see a lot of moms stressing out at that last minute, okay, do I have everything? Does she have everything? And actually, for your mom, if you're planning your own wedding, have someone that she can give her purse to, especially if she's going to carry something big. Let's pass it on to a family member that can take it to your seat, so that you're not carrying it as you go into matatik. Okay. Also, having a buffer person of what's going on, so that the message being taken to the bride is filtered, so she's not absorbing stress, right? You really want to maneuver those small moments that could prevent big public confrontations, or big public hey, we're running late. And then that's when everyone starts to get a little a little frustrated because leadership on wedding mornings is invisible. And if you don't have a planner or a coordinator or someone doing day of management, like having someone assigned for that role is very important. But that right there is also why I highly recommend, if you're not going to have a wedding planner, to hire someone for coordination or management, because that role really sucks and that prevents that person from being able to be in the moment and be with you, because then all of a sudden they're managing other people's emotions and like moving things around, and it's a lot of invisible labor. Because once it's all done, when it's all done well, like no one notices, but when it's missing, everyone feels it. And all families need a designated leader. And yes, I'm going to say it, brothers are often completely oblivious about what's happening, especially at their sister's wedding. I find that they're laughing, they're relaxed, not really watching the clock. They're kind of just doing their thing. And parents really set the tone. And sometimes it's like a masi or a pua or a tai or something. But if that needs to step in, because if a mom and dad move with purpose, everyone follows. If they hesitate, everyone relaxes. And when I see movement slowing down, I don't fight 200 people. I go to the one leading the pack in the wrong direction, right? And that's usually your most influential extended family member, the loud uncle, the aunt organizing photos. And I'll like usually go up to them quietly and say, you know how so and so is. I could really use your help in getting everyone inside. Like it's this time we need to go. Like the groom's about to sit down, and instead of saying, "Hey, why aren't you moving?" When you like, I go in with the position of, "Hey, I could really use your help to make so and so really happy." And usually I'm asking in front of other people, and most people do rise to the occasion because it's social accountability. The thing is, you have to remember to be kind. Like, you're not embarrassing them, you're empowering them. And suddenly that person that was chit-chatting, enjoying their cup of cha is the one saying, "Okay, everyone, let's go," because that's leadership. And if a parent wants to wait for someone because they want to take a photo, I'll always say, "You know what? I would love to wait, but you mentioned," and usually it's the parent saying, "Okay, we want this done." I will bring that back in and say, "Hey, you said this is important to you, so I don't want to risk missing out on that. So let's get started. Show me who this person is, and I'll make sure we get a photo with them right after this is done." Or once they arrive, like if we're waiting for someone, I'll make sure it happens. But for now, let's keep moving, because there's a lot of emotion, right? And if guests refuse to move into the spa sub, my first request is polite. I don't know what it is, but people sit downstairs like after the milni and before the Anand Karaj, and they're like just slowly sipping on their tea and they're eating their snacks. Like everyone's laddie dying, and it's just that reminder of we gotta go, right? So the first time I ask is usually polite, and the second is a bit more firm. And it's becoming a lot more normal now, but before, when I first started doing this, is as the bride was about to walk in, we would stop. Well, actually, once the group sits down, we do stop everyone from going to matatek and politely ask them, "Can you please sit down and take matatek later?" Like, I literally got yelled at by somebody, and I remember looking at him like, "Dude, I asked you for the last 15 minutes, and now that the bride's about to walk in, this is like now when you remember." But we just smile and carry on. So usually if someone's trying to make a late entrance and they're just not understanding, I will just try to see like who they are and try to explain that I would love to let you go matatek, but look at the time the bride's going. And I have found, like, when it's somebody older and speaking in Punjabi to them, but reminding them, hey, like if it was your daughter's wedding or your son's wedding, you wouldn't want this to get ruined. You wouldn't want her to miss her moment. Is like, please have a seat and we'll like carry on. And same thing if it's someone younger, just reminding them, hey, if it's your wedding, you wouldn't want this. And that does seem to work. To be very honest, I've only had a handful of people complain about not being allowed to go matatek. For the most part, people are very understanding, but it's good to just have someone, if you are planning your own wedding and you don't have someone on your team, to make sure that happens, because yes, you want someone firm, and firm does not mean disrespectful, because like literally respect for the day requires discipline, right? Now, let's talk about the energy shift. Like Bharat energy is celebratory, loud, joyful, and Darbar Sab energy is sacred, reverent, intentional. And you cannot carry casual energy into a sacred space. So guests cannot casually wander in during the bride's entrance because they were finishing tea. There has to be a transition. And I remember I once attended a family wedding where a party was like parked on the side of the road waiting for guests who were touching up their makeup in the car. Like legit, I walked up to them and I was like, listen, I gotta let the bus go. You can drive yourself if you want, but the bus has to go. And I waved the bus. I was like, you can go. And the moment the bus shut its doors and it was like ready to start moving, all of a sudden, nobody needed extra time. It's amazing how urgency changes behavior. And that is why like having that designated person is so important for your wedding day timeline, because it's not about control. It's about care, and structure is not about controlling people. It's about caring for the experience. It's about caring for the bride's emotional state. It's about caring for the sacredness of the ceremony, about the investment the couple or their parents have made. So when I enforce a timeline, or when you enforce a timeline for your wedding, it's not about being rigid. It's about protecting softness. And it's about protecting softness. If we go back to the bride's entrance for a moment, the way she walks into the Darbar Sahib is going to set the tone for everything. If she walks in rushed, flustered, like aware that things are behind and she feels like she's fighting that clock, like that energy is going to linger. Whereas if she walks in calm, grounded, like not overstimulated or frustrated, there's going to be a softness and there's presence and intention. And that doesn't happen accidentally. It happens because someone chose discipline earlier in the day, like early in the morning. And so now when I work with couples, here's what I tell them clearly. And this is, if you're planning your own wedding, this is something that would be beneficial. As I mentioned already, assign a family captain, right? Give your family earlier times if they tend to run late. And pre-approve every milni in planning meetings. And if like with a planner, or if you're doing a family, like pre-approve them, have them in writing. I don't know what like everybody wanting to be in the limelight is, but it is what it is. Like sort everything out, your money, your rumalas for both like the bride and the groom, like limit access of who could get into the bridal room. And if you're having a planner, then trust your planner to enforce what you've already agreed to, because by the wedding morning, it's too late to negotiate structure. Okay. Planners, your job is not to be liked in every moment. Your job is to protect the couple and their investment. And couples, your job is to empower leadership ahead of time, because resentment lingers from chaotic morning. I've seen it. I've felt it. When mornings are disorganized, that tension carries into the lama, into the photos, into the rest of the day. But when structure holds, the bride walks in calmly, the ceremony feels grounded, and the sacredness, it feels intact. And those things don't happen by accident. If you want calm, you must choose structure. And if you want a customizable timeline template that you can move around and personalize based on your family's dynamics, it's linked in the show notes. I suggest you use it, adjust it as you see fit, but don't ignore it, because having structure on the wedding morning, it's the difference between a peaceful morning and a resentful one. And that like all the movement and the ceremony and whatnot. So yeah, if you want calm, you must choose structure. I'll see you in the next episode. If today's episode helped things click or gave you a new perspective, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. This podcast exists to support planners in doing their best work and to help couples feel informed, confident, and prepared as they navigate their very own South Asian wedding. If there's something specific you want me to talk about, an episode idea you'd love to hear, a planning story you want to share, or a question you're sitting with, there's a link in the show notes where you can send it all in. I promise I will read every submission, and many of them will shape future episodes. You can connect with me at www.jessiekara.com or on Instagram at jessiekara. If you're ready to navigate South Asian weddings with intention and confidence, I'll see you there. And if this podcast is supporting you in any way, I would truly appreciate you taking a moment to leave a 5-star review. It helps more planners and couples find these conversations and keep the space growing. Until next time, trust your perspective and plan with clarity.